Yeah.
Okay, we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our morning budget workshop here at City Hall. It is 10:01. We will begin our meeting with our invocation and then Pledge of Allegiance. And Pastor Mr. Matt Moreno will lead us in our invocation for this morning. And Mrs. Bowen, if you don't mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure, thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, we just thank you for you, Lord. We thank you for your son, Jesus. God, we also thank you for the great city of Alice, Texas. Lord, I pray today that you would be with all the minds that are going to be here in this room, God, as they go through the budget for next year, God, and as they make the changes necessary needed to push our city forward. God, I pray that today, Lord, that we would practice and exercise listening overall, God, that we would listen and hear the things that need to be changed, God, and we would have an open heart about them. Lord, I pray that there would be no sacred cows, Lord, like we like to call them in the church world, of things that we throw it all on the table, and whatever needs to be done gets done, Lord. And so I pray for each and every council member and the mayor, God, and all the city workers that have put countless hours into this, Lord. I pray that today they would begin to see the fruit of what they've been doing, Lord. And so I pray over this meeting, God, I pray that your peace and your comfort and your strength would just integrate this meeting right now, here in this moment. Lord, let us find solutions where we think there are no solutions because of you, God. And so I pray that your hand would be here in this place, God. I pray that you would continue to take this great city forward. Lord, we thank you, and it's in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please put your right hand over your heart and say the pledge with me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Matt.
Like that shirt.
And I'm going to try to open this in because I don't have the hard copy.
your agenda.
Yeah.
Here you go.
That's okay. Let me see. You do?
No.
I forgot. Okay, so agenda item number 3 is our public comments. I don't see any citizens that wish to make any comments at this time. So I'll move to our city council for any public announcements or comments you would wish to give at this time. Mr. P. Chris?
Nothing really at this time. Just pay attention to any water restrictions that the city might have in place and try to help out and do your part. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Molina?
Same, thank you.
Okay.
Fine.
Mr. Burke?
Yeah, just quick, I don't usually say anything, but during public comment, just a couple general overviews as we enter the budget process. Personal view as we enter it is how important and critical this is, and a couple things on my mind or at the forefront of my thoughts are, number one is thinking of our many city employees in our various departments, maintenance and construction, water department, streets, parks, etc., and the daily dedication that they show. And in a personal sense, I hope that somewhere along the line that there will be an opportunity and the possibility of recognizing that they are well deserving of a cost of living adjustment. At least that, because they've sacrificed over the years, and I hope that we may be in a position where we can give them, return something a little more to them. Secondly, I know from my standpoint, this is probably the fourth or fifth budget process having gone through, and I think, you know, the budget is 75 to 80% of it is pretty well set. So there's only a certain level of it that is manipulative to be adjusted, and so we should be familiar with a lot of the operations of the city government already. So I hope it's not a prolonged, unnecessarily process, that we can streamline it. And we did last year, and I thought that was a good thing. And basically, that's just what I wanted to share.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Mrs. Bowen?
Yeah, just real quick, I just wanted to, before everything starts, thank the staff and city manager, everybody involved in putting all this together. It's very, very vital, very important. You know, I've gone through this a couple of times now, and just watching it and all the data entry that y'all do, it's amazing, and I'm so grateful for all your hard work. Very grateful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank y'all so much, and Mr. Esparza and staff, everyone, all directors, employees, thank you. I know this isn't easy, especially with our constraints. So looking forward to going through this process and having some discussions and kind of seeing, giving y'all some of the feedback also that we've had from our citizens. But before we go into our budget workshop also, I just want to thank everyone out there that have had special events. The downtown ambassadors, they've done a wonderful job of creating excitement for downtown. So if you haven't gone, citizens and visitors to Alice, go by and see our downtown, visit the shops, they're amazing. We have our Lake Finley and our water park and natatorium. Come by and visit those, and our golf course. So thank y'all, everyone that has come to visit, and we welcome everyone. And new businesses were open, so for business, come on to Alice. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 4, individual considerations, 4.1. I apologize, we didn't do our roll call. I'm going to go back and do it. I am so sorry. I called the meeting to order and we didn't do our roll call to certify quorum. At this time, if I will have y'all, when I call your name, answer with present or here. Mr. P. Chris,
Present.
Mr. Molina,
Present.
Mr. Burke,
Present.
Mrs. Bowen.
Present.
Okay, let the record reflect that we do have quorum. I apologize for that misstep there, so thank y'all. Okay, so again, agenda item number 4, individual considerations. 4.1, conduct a public hearing on fiscal year 2022 to 2023 proposed budget. And 4.2, review and discussion of the 2021-2022 fiscal year revised City of Alice budget and 2022 to 2023 fiscal year proposed City of Alice budget. At this time, since we are having a public hearing on 4.1, I will go ahead and open our public hearing. It is 10:09 a.m. And anyone wishing to speak on behalf of our proposed budget is welcome to step forward and speak at this time. Don't be shy. Okay, seeing no one at this time, we'll go ahead and close our public hearing. It is 10:10 a.m. We go ahead and close our public hearing and move on to 4.2, which I have already opened. Mr. Esparza, would you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Y'all have had some time to look at the budget, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on is that, and the budget that was presented is a workable budget. It fulfills our needs, but this process is to hear from you guys also along the way to see if you want to add anything to it, delete something from it. But when I present a budget, just so y'all know, if y'all don't ever take action on this budget, it automatically gets approved. And that's why I've got to be really careful how I present it. Sometimes there's not things that are in there that maybe you guys would want to see, because I want to hear from the collective group. And that's what we're here on these budget meetings for. And one example is a few years ago, we added, the positions on code enforcement. We had one, and we added several to that, and that was something we did along the way. And so as we go through this, if there's some needs or some needs and wants that you guys have, we'll find a way to incorporate those and then bring it back to you on the next budget meeting. So that's kind of what we're here for. The other thing is that when we present the budget, we don't have the assessed values yet, the certified assessed values. And that changed. And so the assessed values went down. So right away, if we want to keep the effective rate, we're going to have to figure out a way to cut about $200,000 from the budget. So that's something that happened from the proposed budget till now. So those are things that we're working on. But what we plan on doing is, with finance going through the budget, starting with the general fund, and I'm sure it'll take us a while to get through and get that on this meeting and our next meeting, go through the other funds. We have a meeting on Thursday. And depending on how that goes, we would schedule a third meeting for next Thursday also, to go through kind of the last funds and debt service, and then do a recap as well. We don't plan on printing, as I hear changes that you guys want to make. We don't plan on printing those out. We're going to keep them. At the very end, we'll print a new budget book with everything that's done, because I think it got a little confusing when we had 7A, 7B, and things like that. And so I think we're better off just notating them and then printing one final book that y'all can, and save us a lot of time and paper on doing that too, because it gets pretty confusing when we print separate pages. But if we'd like to start on the on page 7 of your budget book, and we can just start with the general fund.
I wanted to ask you, when we do make some changes and when you're going to create that new book, if we could have a bullet point or some kind of highlight,
Yeah.
a page or something.
Yeah.
Because it did get confusing last time. There's things in here that I discovered that I was like, I don't remember seeing that. But again, it was, and I appreciate that we got our book early to be able to review it. So thank y'all so much for that. It makes it so much easier for us to go through it and
Yeah, so-
understand it a little better.
Yes, ma'am. So what we'll do, if there's some changes you want to see on here or have made, then we'll have a kind of an outline of, and a full sheet of that. That way you can have in front of you next to your book, these are the changes that were made, instead of printing out new pages. Yes, we'll do that.
And I was going to ask you, one thing, I know that we have a transmittal letter that you always present to council, and it also is posted when we do our proposed budget. So if anyone wanting to review that, the citizens out there, because this gives us a really good synopsis of what your goals are, what you've done as far as you and staff, as far as the budget, proposed budget currently, because it will change. But just, I encourage everyone, if you want to go and read that, and it kind of gives us a little bit more of an overview. So, sorry.
Thanks.
That's just right. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Vanessa, you want to start with page 7?
Okay, yes. On page 7, the big one we wanted to talk about was the tax revenue. The sales tax that we budgeted, I'm sorry.
I'm listening.
Oh, I thought you were, I'm sorry, I thought you
No,
said
I'm
something.
listening. I'm just like, okay, I want to hear.
Oh, sorry. The sales tax we budgeted for proposed at $480,000 per month. And as Mr. Esparza said, the property tax, we did budget it as the same revenue as last year. So that is the effective rate, or the no new revenue rate. So that means since the values went down, it would either have to go up, or like he said, we'd have to find somewhere to cut. Everything else is pretty much in line. I don't know, were there any questions on any of the revenues?
Mr. Chris?
Give me 1 second, come back.
Okay. Mr. Molina?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
Not right, thank you.
On our tax collection, are we still budgeting at 92%
Yes, ma'am.
collection rate? Okay. And The intergovernmental line that's on there, is that the 671.93, that's ARP funds that's anticipated or stuff that's received?
The 643,193?
670, yeah. Well, mine shows 671.93.
Oh, you're looking at the total. Okay, yes. So a big part of that was the American Rescue Plan, the loss of revenue. We had, I believe council had said that they were going to allocate some of that money for loss of revenue, yes.
Right, okay. So this is monies we are anticipating having for this coming ARP funds?
For the
Or-
second funding, yes.
For the second
Right,
cycle?
right. The first cycle should have been on.
Yes. So we should be receiving some more money probably around this time, this month or next month.
Okay. There was, let me see. I was gonna ask you on the franchise licensing permits and stuff, is there anything that, Mr. Esparza, that you know that we can do to increase that, or what, how, or what are our plans?
I mean, we can do an audit and see if we're maxed out on what we can. We just need to line item all of them that we have, and we can get that by our next meeting and see if there's any wiggle room on there on some of the franchise fees.
Okay.
We'll do that. And actually, where's Jose? Jose, there was something, the email you sent also?
Yes, sir. There's a lawsuit currently going on by the state that they're trying to recoup funds from places like Netflix and other streaming services that aren't paying, but cable providers pay. So we're going to look into that with John and see if that's something the city can consider.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that.
It was like large cities, like Houston, Dallas, there was
There was, let me see. So, I was just, so on the going back to the ARP funds, then when we had our meeting a few months back, council, I thought had only voted on the initial part. I didn't know they had voted for the total amount to be allocated to infrastructure and revenue loss.
It was a total of 1.2
It
was agreed
it
to,
was
so
for the
we broke it
4
up. Right, and of that
4.02,
1.2
okay.
was agreed
Okay.
to for the loss of revenue.
1.2 and then use the
Right, so then
balance.
it was 2 cycles, so we did 643 this one and then 643 the next.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what the police escort revenue is for?
Yeah. So our police chief, and he's not here today.
He's not.
Okay. The funeral homes they charge
Oh.
for police escort.
Okay.
And we just, they just haven't been paying out for police escort, so we're starting to, police chief had a meeting with them. And so, we'll start getting that revenue, paid out to us.
And
That was on my list.
what is the grant revenue line item? I noticed we had it on the revised budget, but then on the proposed budget, it was removed. That's on page 8.
4125.
Let me see which one that one is.
The 4,125.
It might be another library one.
33,900.
Let me see, one second. It's what's been received for TIFMAS tactics from April 2021. Must be a fire department, but it's a TIFMAS tactics. I'm not sure which one that one is.
So it's something that we thought we were gonna have and then.
No, it's something we received, but maybe we didn't, we're
It's a
not.
one-time.
Yeah.
It's a
yeah.
one-off.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
remember what that one is?
Yeah, that was a replacement for some training.
Okay.
The state reimburses the money that we spent on it.
But it shows zero, okay, so that's why it shows zero for the,
Because there's this.
Right.
Because it's a one-time,
It's a
yeah,
one-
on
it's
that
a
one,
one-off.
okay. All right. And on lien payoffs, I noticed that in 2020 to 2021, we had 373, 205, and then on the proposed budget, it just shows 10,000.
So that was because we recorded a lot,
When we went back, right?
yes, we went back and several of them were just maybe kept by paper and files were kept on them, and this was us actually entering them into the software.
When we got caught up.
Yes.
when
Right.
City manager
Oh,
asked
okay.
us to get caught
get
up.
caught
so-
up.
So it was just moving a lot of that information into the system, so it was recorded last
So
year.
it showed it as a higher
Yes.
Right.
amount, okay.
But it was several years, it wasn't just one
Right.
year.
Okay.
And that was on the question on which one? Sorry. you were
On
reading
the.
something.
Lien payouts.
liens.
Lien payouts.
Yeah.
Because I have a question in regards to old stuff too, if you don't mind, Mayor, real quick.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The property cleaning revenue, I know that we're starting to actually go out and start getting that back. That's lean, that's kind of like lean revenues too, right? Where we've been in the rears for a little while. Do we actually anticipate being able to collect $20,000 worth? I know that we've collected $11,000 in the last little bit of time, actually going out and getting people and billing. Or we look like we're trying to.
Let me see where we're at.
But it went down to 5,000.
That's what we budgeted, but
Yeah.
on the revised, we have 20. So we
Yeah,
collected
that's-
20,000.
We have collected 20,000,
We're
Budget
pulling up what
revised.
we're,
We've collected 16,000 so far.
16,000 so far. We have a couple of months left. Okay. Now, how old was some of that we were collecting there? Because if we're collecting old stuff, does that make sense? Like, I mean, it makes that number look really big. And I know that these are small numbers in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
but 20,000 is
But
20,000. If we think we're
These
going to
are
collect
kinda
10 moving
current
forward.
ones, right? A lot of them are current.
I don't know that for sure. I can tell you that because of we've made some changes with Lineberger that they're doing some more collecting for us. So we've got, I guess, you see, we've got a little bit more aggressive with our collections. And so we have seen an increase in the amount of stuff that we're collecting. But to tell you what years they were from, I don't have that information.
Okay.
But we are seeing more of those things, those liens being paid.
But before we even file a lien, we're collecting some of these.
Yeah, I'm
payments.
talking about
What's that?
just the
Yeah.
cleaning part
Yes.
before the
The
liens.
property cleaning should be more current, because
Right.
there is a process, so once it's a lien, that's kind of an older account.
But I was just wondering how many of those that we started collecting before they went to lien, because, I mean, we had a stack of papers, right? Like you were talking about, we didn't have them in a system, so we were reaching out to people that probably should have already been a lien, but they were still
Right.
just
Right.
stack of paper that makes a difference, so.
Well, and then also.
So y'all
has
feel
an
comfortable with the
extra
20,000?
That's the main question is, I mean, do we really feel comfortable with that in the process of where we're going and where we've been?
Yeah, I see us exceeding that this year with the aggressiveness that we have on some of these liens. Yeah.
We've revamped that entire process. I mean, we've taken a look at that and we've really dug deep into that and to see what we can do to improve ourselves to make it, easier for us to be able to collect some of that stuff. So, yeah, we're on track to collect more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also wanted to ask, on the failure to appear, I noticed we had 5 and then it went to 8, and now we're placing 0 on there. Can you explain that or tell me a little bit about that? That is on page 9.
So on some of those, we looked into a lot of those. The state kind of realigned some of their fees, and the way we had them worded, they kind of combined some. So we kind of dissected how the money goes to the state, and we kind of realigned some of our revenue items. So if they weren't even using that one anymore, we didn't include it, we zeroed it out, but it's probably included in another revenue line item where
Okay.
it's coming out of now.
Okay, and this is like one of those that you say, like the state gets a big portion of it and we
Yes,
get like this
and they
tiny
actually
little-
called it prior mandatory costs or something like that because they changed the way that they were doing it too. So we just had to kind of update our revenue line items.
Okay.
We did an entire audit of
Yeah.
the municipal court fees.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, and we still need to learn a little bit more.
I remember back in 17 when it was presented to us and they had they had one where it was like huge number, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we felt like, why are we going after that? And then they explained, well, it's like, we really don't get all of that.
Most of
Yeah.
it goes to the state.
Yes, okay. And what is time payment?
I don't remember what that one was for. I don't remember. But we can find out.
Okay, because I see there was 13,000 and we have 0 now, so.
Yeah,
It was
that-
another one probably where they,
One of those-
they changed,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And on the donations, that was simply because we got that huge donation from the Wyatt
Wyatt
Ranch.
Ranch.
Yes.
Okay. What is the interest income? Where's that coming from?
I'm sorry, the what?
Interest income?
Interest income? Interest income? Oh, that's the interest from, Logic, from our investment.
Okay. And I noticed like auction proceeds, scrap metal, we're not doing any of that?
We haven't had an auction, I believe. Scrap metal, that's as they take in maybe items, but it's really on the departments as, I know Joe will sometimes take in meters, or it just depends, whatever they may have, they'll try and take it in to sell it. But,
Hard to budget.
yeah, I don't really know how much or,
I
Mr.
think,
Swanson,
I
do we
think
have
this
it?
one that's in there, it was some old playground equipment that was sold for scrap.
I
So
know
that's
we
like a
had-
small amount.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. I know we had like vehicles and stuff, I don't know if we, are we
We had a
doing
big
anything?
auction a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, on this one.
And currently we don't,
Well, we want to build up, I mean, this one was
a year,
10
2
years.
years ago?
Yeah, well, the one that we
Well-
had in 2020, it was,
Okay.
it was about 10 years or more of things that were piled up. And so it'll probably be another year or 2 years and we'll have another big one. Yeah.
And we keep inventory of all that and kind of keep track, okay.
Yeah, we were still working with some of the titles right here recently also on some of the vehicles, and Odie
Okay.
was dealing with those.
All right, well, and I have some questions on a couple of things, but I think as we go through the,
okay. Okay, so we can start with the departments now. And we can start with City Council on page 12. And what I'll do is I'll pause after every department in case you have any questions, and give you some time to ask. So, City Council didn't really have much changes. There's just, y'all's department is pretty much the same every year. We put in some money for office supplies, travel, your cell phones, things like that. There wasn't too much of a difference.
And we expecting, I think, at least a few of you guys to go to Team-L or so. And so last year on the travel, we all didn't spend very much, but we still budgeted the same amount in case y'all do want to go to the Team-L conference.
and I apologize, I wanted to ask you, going back to the other one that we just finished, I'm so sorry, because I was going through the individual pages. On category 70 on page 20, I was just wondering, under 56,310, that line item, that was something that council approved through budget and not at a city council meeting, the increase?
Jumping into the fight, that was for the meeting.
That was approved, I believe, last year, yes, during
It wasn't
the
through-
council meeting.
A council meeting?
Or no, the budget meetings, I
It was
believe.
through a budget workshop? Okay.
And we can go more into
Should-
detail
should-
on that when
Move
we
forward
get to
on
that
20.
one.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just-
If there's no questions on city
Oh,
council,
it
I
was-
can go and cost. Living. We. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Year. Not-
Yeah. Clerk. Please.
It looks good.
And we also included, for the election this year, just to make payment to, I believe, the county. They're the ones who usually assist with the election.
What category does that fall under there? I missed it.
It'll be on page 15.
Other
Other purchase property.
Other professional.
The 4,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's separate at the very, very bottom. Doesn't have a category.
And we
I
budgeted
think-
4,000, I believe, because there'll be several in this
Yeah,
election.
we finally, after a lot of work getting that organized as far as the cost, and we worked with the elections office on that, and we finally got an idea of what the cost will be on us. And we had some real high estimates when we first started working with them. And then I know Odie went back and forth a lot, and John also, on getting that organized. I think they were trying to charge us the whole election cost a couple of times.
Yeah.
And so we worked through that.
Like we were buying the software the first time. I think
Yeah.
it was 50-something thousand, if I remember
Yes.
correctly, the first time
Yes.
that they were.
Yeah.
So,
Good deal. Okay.
good job.
Okay, next we have administration. The function sheet is on page 16. We did move some positions, so you'll notice a decrease. We moved the Director of External Affairs to the Grants Department, and then we moved the Internal Auditor to the Finance Department. And the Internal Auditor, that historically was with Finance Department, and the Director of External Affairs, I believe that was just moved so they can work more hand in hand with each other.
And he's moved to the grant.
So where they
you
went,
said?
where?
Grants.
Oh, it's.
To the grants?
Grants.
Yeah, and we're relabeling it Grants and External Affairs,
Okay.
is that department. But, and also on the internal auditor, organizationally, it still reports to the city manager, but it's a finance function. But you typically don't want the auditor reporting to anybody but the city manager, not to a director, or especially in finance, because they're the ones that are supposed to be able to do the auditing of all the departments. And we still have that position open, which was what we've had kind of a person there for a long period of time who came back and then left, and then we had Gabriel there for a little bit, and so we need to fill that position again. And that, keeps, I think it's a good position to have open, making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do and have all the auditing and of all the departments done. And not that we're not doing auditing, because they're doing it all. But it's spread out between a lot of people, and then there's not that oversight that we need on that. So, but we did move it for budgeting purposes back to finance.
And on the other position, is it fair to do it all in that department for grants, or should it be split since it's administration and grants?
Well, external affairs is kind of different it's on its own. But it deals with, I mean, External Affairs deals a lot with grants. And so that's kind of part of how that works. And the other thing is we're, our grant administrator right now, Barbara Reeves, is moving her to also be an airport manager as well, which is what she in a sense does. And so it's not like necessarily full-time grants also, because I mean we're running her thin. Well, she's already thin. Yeah.
He does it all.
But that's, in your
Yeah.
opinion, that's the best way to
Yeah.
show it and account for it. Okay. Council, any questions on administration? Mr. Chris? Mr. Molina?
I'm okay.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Mullin?
No, thank you.
Okay. I think that was it, but,
Okay, so we will go now to our general service department, which is 105. There was this, a decrease in this department. We did not fund the assistant maintenance tech for this next year. We also have a decrease in the electricity. So we were paying this year a storm recovery charge, but we will be done paying that in December. So we were able to decrease the electricity charge for the proposed budget. Those were some of the big items for this department. There's a lot of things that touch here. We have the sales tax repayment, a lot of stuff for City Hall hits here, like any AC repairs, anything done to the building, anything for mostly all the employees usually hits this department.
council, any questions? Mrs. Bowen?
Not at this time, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Chris?
Yeah, you brought up the sales tax repayments. I know a few years ago we were hit pretty hard. Have we been hit on those, and where do we stand on our paybacks?
We have not received any new ones, thank God. And I believe I checked, and we should be done paying, I believe in 2025, I believe we'll be done.
Because they hit us real hard.
Yes.
Was it 2 years ago?
We got like 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah. Okay.
On here, we have a catering and meal expenses. What is that for?
On page 19?
Yes, uh-huh.
P&C.
Oh, okay, so this is coffee and creamer and stuff for City Hall, and then for some meals for the planning and zoning meetings.
Okay, and bank charges, what, we have 5,100.
So the bank charges are really a lot of like the credit card fees, when people come and they pay their bills and.
To process?
Yes.
Okay.
So we split them a lot of times between
Different.
the funds, yes, because it could be for general fund, it could be the water, codes inspections, or solid waste. It's just, so it gets split. Now, if they're listed specifically, like it's for this fund, we will allocate it directly to their fund.
Okay. And you mentioned something like right now about lowering our electricity bill?
Well,
Or-
what happened with, because of the freeze, they did end up billing the city, as most agencies, and it was a storm recovery fee.
Oh, okay.
And so we were making monthly payments, and we were going to be done December of 2022. So it was an additional fee on top of just our regular electric charge.
Okay. Is that because we weren't on a fixed rate, or that's just something?
We are on a fixed rate, but it was just,
It was just like a surcharge additional, and it was.
Across the board.
Yeah, a lot of cities across Texas got charged that additional fee. And they were given options on how to pay it We
Okay.
chose to do a monthly
A monthly
payment over
payment.
time. And I
Okay.
believe it's about a total of 16, between
16
16
or
or 17,000 a
17,000.
month. And we allocated it between the different funds.
And we'll be
Based
done
on their
with that?
usage.
When will we be done with that?
December.
December. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Sometimes I'm looking at something else and trying to, thank y'all for that. So, and then on copy lease, is that, it went down only because did we, I mean, it didn't go down from the other years, but I was noticing in the 2021, it was 10,493.
We allocated, we noticed some of the copiers were being charged here when they were actually in another department, so we kind of reallocated to where they should be going.
I think you mentioned that last budget. Okay, thank you. And our telephone service went up on here. Is there a reason? Is that because we allocated to this account from somewhere else, or?
From 1,055.
That one, we'll have to look at that allocation
Okay,
to see if maybe some are being charged here
if it moved. Okay,
for relay services. We'll look, it's a new service, so we'll see if maybe they're all just being charged here.
and then office and administrative, that's also something that we just allocate for whatever services are provided for this area, or?
The official administrative, the 195,000, that's actually the sales tax repayment.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you. So I'm just gonna write that on there so I can remember. Okay. And then we, just the question I had earlier, and I'm sorry, I apologize that I had jumped.
Okay.
I don't know how I got back to this. I was just asking, so that was approved, Mr. Esparza, at a city council meeting, or this was just something that was approved?
Had to have been through the budget if it's in the budget for the 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, and 2021, 22
So
total
council
budget,
approved this
yes.
through budget approval
Yeah.
on an increase. Is that the process for this specific position, or is there a process, or is that how it's normally done?
There's not any formal process for that, for any of the contract positions.
No. It's just to make sure that did we get something just kind of to let us know where?
And I don't remember.
Because I don't remember it, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking. When
Yeah,
I saw
don't
it, I
remember
said,
either. I'll have to check my notes to see what we had on last year's budget.
okay. If you can
I'll do.
yeah, get back to me on that one, please.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on here, we have building structures and improvements. We had 57,884, and then it's zero now
It
for
was for the new municipal court building. We should probably be moving it. We'll be moving it to municipal court.
to municipal court.
At the time, we didn't know exactly what
What?
role it was gonna play.
Okay,
Yeah, but it's not gonna carry over, it's a one-time deal.
Right, correct,
Because we already spent the money.
correct.
you already spent it?
Yes.
That's why it's part of
Okay.
this year's budget.
We're still gonna have, are we gonna have more costs?
We'll have costs associated, but
Right.
it'll be under municipal court.
Okay.
We'll see.
That's what I would. okay.
Right, yes, ma'am.
All right, and then capital outlay, we put zero, 'cause we don't have, we're not planning on anything. Mr. Esparza,
Not in this.
Nothing
not in
for
this budget.
City Hall,
cycle?
no.
Okay. I think that's it for that one, I'm sorry, thank
That's
you.
okay. Next, we have the Civil Service Administration Department. On page 22, this has just two civil service, I guess, like a director and a co-director that kind of oversee the Civil Service Department. And we just had a small decrease on legal proceedings. And travel, there was no travel. But that's about it. There's not too much really to this department.
Promotional exams? Dropped by, we did 4,900 this year, but we're doing nothing next year?
So we probably will have promotional exams, especially for fire. They just haven't told us what books they're gonna select.
Just let us know
We
how
get the
much.
cost,
Mhm.
yeah.
We can add it in.
I think we need to,
Still going over that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we always need to budget the idea of them being able to move up in the ranks, so. And it's not a huge number. I know that we need to trim off $300,000 worth of fat, but when we give them the opportunity to advance, we need to make sure we have it budgeted and not have to come back and talk about it again later.
Right.
Mr. Molina,
I'm good.
Mr. Burke,
I'm good.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. And this is in the form of a stipend, right?
The
These
civil service,
two?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the command center. There's no employees for this department. This one's more for emergencies or storms, so we just kind of budget just a little bit, just in case. We never know what's going to happen. There was a slight increase in this budget for proposed. One of the new items is the emergency notification system. And everything else is pretty much the same.
Mr. Crisp, any questions?
I didn't see anything really on this one. Just, where did we spend $3,800 in advertising last year?
This year?
Or this year? Well, yeah, I'm sorry, this year. Sorry.
I think so.
The hurricane.
And it's, what's that? Hurricane maps?
Hurricane, it's not maps, but it's a hurricane.
Oh, the handout,
The guide.
the guidance, okay. Okey dokey.
Was that to include the website and stuff too, or that's
Sorry,
the website and all that, or no?
Yes, it was a digital, this year's was a digital thing where basically when you do a Google search, it would pop up, it would notify you if you're in this area, and it would pop up and it would show you, click here for your digital hurricane guide, hurricane preparedness.
Mr. Molina?
What's that subscription?
What's the amount?
That's the emergency notification
What's the
system.
amount? Because there's a couple different
The
descriptions.
4550.
That's the HyperReach?
Yeah.
So that's basically what our Luca system is. It basically calls people if we have an emergency, we send it out.
And it's new?
Notification.
Is
It's
that
not-
new?
No, it's not.
Okay. So we didn't allow anything last year, last time?
I'm not sure where it came out of last year. This has
No,
been,
we-
Because
had-
we've had it.
we've had it.
I'll check because we used to pay the county, right, for the
Yes.
Lucas.
Yes.
We've had it for years. Where it came out of, I don't know.
I don't know if it was membership and dues.
No, just because it was zero, I mean, we didn't spend anything this year on it, so.
It might have been coded to a different line item, maybe membership and dues.
Yeah, it's right there. If you see it, membership and dues further down,
Mm-hmm.
it's just read.
Oh, okay, yeah, just categorized different.
Right.
Got it, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's a big decrease. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
None.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you. You've asked my question.
And I just wanted to ask on this one, Mr. Esparza, I know that, would this be the fund that we would make sure we have, like, for supplies, again, for like the emergency management, or, you know, because I know that there's been some need and we don't have. So I didn't know where have you seen that, or where is,
So
and
this
the
is.
sirens and all that good stuff?
Right, so the sirens, we did make repairs to that, or they're scheduled to be done. But this is one of those funds that we really don't put money there until we need it. It's kind of hard to predict how many storms we're gonna have, what types of emergencies we're gonna have. And so it's one of those, if we need it, we spend it there, and then we just adjust the budget during our revised budget. But there's not really a set amount that we put there every year.
So anything you see as far as a need, then we just address it through a budget amendment or something?
Yeah, and that's
If
probably
as
more of a question
needed.
for them. So what we try to do is the known costs that we know, like for instance, that subscription, we know we're gonna spend that.
Right.
We know that, but there's a lot of unknowns with that department, so, to, put somebody in there it's a little harder to do because we don't know what's we may not use it.
Last year did the same thing, right? Because we only allocated so much and then we spent.
Right.
We put a little bit of money in there because something may come up, but we don't know exactly. And then if a storm does happen or we prepare for a storm, we like for the departments to actually expense it here, because if FEMA does approve it as a disaster, it's easier for us to find it and then submit for reimbursement.
So an example of that is here recently, we've had some really hot days, and we ran into a situation where we normally don't buy a lot of water in bulk, but this year we had to buy that water in bulk because of the extreme heat that we were dealing with, that a lot of our employees were dealing with. So we took that out of this fund. We were able to move some money in there and purchase the pallets of water that we needed to be able to handle that. So same thing would happen if we needed to open a shelter and we needed to buy food or buy blankets or cots or anything like that. This is where that would come out of. But it's kind of hard to predict how many shelters we're going to open, how many cooling centers we're going to need to open. How many we don't know that until it happens.
That's why we had that big chunk in 2021 was because of the freeze, right?
Correct.
Well, that was, I think, the COVID.
It may have been a
We-
combination.
a combination.
Yeah.
Both
Possibly
at the same
the
time,
freeze
yeah,
and
we
possibly
got
Yeah.
COVID.
double hit with that.
Okay.
So line items 52480 and 54880 are where we budget just like a base
A little
amount.
For
something.
supplies
Right.
and services.
Okay. Where would the sirens fall in this category? Did we account for that already?
So the sirens are all getting fixed out of this year's budget, so there shouldn't be anything for next year for sirens other
Okay.
than maybe some maintenance type costs, but they've all been completely redone this year.
But they're coming out of this budget, or
But
they're
it would
coming
come
out
out
of
of this.
fire
It
budget?
should
or
come
not?
out of this
It
budget.
should be coming out
It
of this
should be
budget.
out of this budget.
Okay.
And
So
it
would
would
it be
be the
moved in there?
equipment repair maintenance services line item. We just don't have, I don't believe we have anything expensed yet.
No, it's
For
not
the
expense,
revised
it's,
budget.
it's, what's the other fancy word you'll use? Encumbered?
Encumbered.
Encumbered, maybe?
Fancy.
Sorry, that's a firefighter in me, I'm not a finance person. But yeah, so it's, and I'll give you all just a quick update while we're on that subject. On the 22nd, they'll be here to finish those repairs on it, so.
Good.
It
Thank
should
you.
take them a day or two to get that done.
That's a long time
It's been.
coming, so
yeah,
I'm glad we
Waiting on parts
addressed.
was the
Yeah.
biggest delay.
Great.
And you had mentioned something in reference, so you don't anticipate needing anything additional, another site for a siren, or is that
No,
more
not right
county
now.
than anything?
Right now, pretty much all the sites that are in the city are being repaired with our
Okay.
funds.
And they reach the full extent of our city.
Yes, they do. There is a little section out to the west, but until more development or something happens out there, there's really not any right now, because it's a lot of open space, open land.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I think that answered most of my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the finance department, and one big change here was, again, the position of the internal auditor moved to this department, so you will see an increase there. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is pretty much the same every year.
Mr. Chris?
How many of these positions are currently vacant? Because I know we moved our auditor, and now we've unfortunately
accountant.
lost somebody, so how many of these are vacant?
We have two,
Two.
yeah.
Which are
The auditor and the accountant.
and one of the accountant positions?
Yes.
And we're gonna be posting, or we have posted for?
We have the accountant posted, the internal auditor not at this time.
Okay.
That's a Michael push anyway for now. Okay.
Mr. Molina?
No, not now.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Yeah, if you don't-
Sure.
Mike, what are your thoughts on pushing for that internal auditor refill? Are you gonna be
Yeah,
doing
well,
it here pretty
we're
soon?
we're gonna be posting for that. You know, we were, when Gabriel was appointed, and we kind of confirmed by you guys, wanted to make sure he wanted to be in that position, and opened up this one. So we're in the process of finalizing the job description again, making sure it's accurate, and then we'll be posting probably in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah, because if we fill that position, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you can go back there, right? Every day, right, Gabe?
Yeah, every day.
I can't go back.
Can I go back? No, not
No.
today.
Okay.
That's fun.
No other questions? The salary, then the increase was because of that added position, and then the little increase that we had. And then printing and publishing, 1,500, and in 21 and 22, it showed 14,000.
I'll look at that. That
Yeah,
might be a
that's-
typo. It might be meant to be 15,000, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
meant to be
That is a typo.
15,000?
15,000.
Or the 14. It's supposed to be 1,400.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured it was a typo.
We're hoping
I was like,
that
wow.
And $1?
And $1.
Okay. And the minor information tech equipment, it showed 3,000 back in 2021, and we have 0. What was that for? Or do y'all anticipate
laptop
needing
is
that?
I think it's when we purchased the new laptops that are kind of.
Oh. Okay. I think that's it for me.
Oh, it was actually the touch screens for the time clocks. That's what it was.
Okay.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Information Technology Department. And there is something that we will correct for the adopted budget. There was a little bit of a miscommunication,
Proposed.
misunderstanding on a position, but we will get that corrected, and it'll be all fixed for when it's time to adopt the budget.
For which one?
On the proposed, on the IT manager, Jim, we've been talking about Jim's planning retirement sometime soon. We've talked about it, and as the conversation between Jim and I, and then finance and I, and we funded partially of a year.
Oh.
And it kind of like, we didn't come back to that conversation, so we need to include his full salary.
His
Yeah.
salary, okay.
What was it last year, if you don't, or roughly, just so we can get a rough idea on that number? Because these are all things that make that 300,000 go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What is that?
Just the salary?
We could be rough,
Was
I think it was like 60 something,
65
if I'm not
or something.
mistaken.
70.
What was that? I'm sorry, we missed.
What should it have been?
The,
No, Jim.
okay, Mr. Hicks, help.
I think it was 74,
Go like
right?
this,
It's
Jim.
74.
74, it should be a total 181,068 should be your total.
Okay, it should be the grand total?
Yes, sir.
74,556, I think.
I apologize, I missed your question.
That's fine, thank you. 181, what again?
Oh, 68,
68.
068.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And on this one also with the minor information tech equipment, we don't anticipate anything, it's 0.
On there, it is 0, but if you look towards the bottom, there's a division, citywide supplies, and that's usually where they'll spend most of their money, and it's
Which
really,
one?
Citywide.
On page 29 towards the bottom.
Oh, citywide, okay, I got it.
That's
Okay.
more where they'll buy items for the departments, and that's where we kind of coded it.
That's
The
where
top
you
is
moved
just
it,
mainly
okay.
for them, and I think they're good.
And I noticed like throughout the budget that we keep seeing our telephone service and the copy lease as an increase. Is there any way of revisiting some of those contracts or seeing if we can get a better rate or something better?
We're doing that right now.
You're doing that?
We're kind of locked in for 2 or 3 more years on those, I believe. The telephone lease, actually, it was, the service itself is the $2,102. That's just the telephone service. We were leasing the equipment, and that was another $1,400 a month, but that, we finished that last summer, I believe. So that was a deduction there. We've just been doing some demos with some other vendors to replace all of our phones, the whole phone system. And with the new phones, we're getting a lot of them at no cost, so with the new phones, with the new service, it'll be probably GoTo Connect or somewhere like that, where you can also do meetings and everything, and have a soft phone and have an app on your cell phone and all that, for the same price what we're spending right now,
Right now,
$2,100.
we get more for our money.
The phones we have now are about 4 years old, so we need to plan on replacing them. This lets us replace them and not have to pay any more money than we already are.
Okay.
And I think the copiers was part of a contract that Roland, when he came in, was part of a renegotiation, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
wanna say that
I
was
remember
something-
that.
I wanna say
Maybe the
that-
Yes.
Ricoh ones, yes.
Yeah, the Rico ones.
Yes.
So we have Ricoh and we have Xerox. We have
Oh, okay.
some of both.
I know he had brought something for a while back.
Well, anything you can do,
No, you're
I was
good.
like, I don't even know, I don't know.
anything y'all can do to negotiate or bring some savings.
Yes, that's always good.
Yes. And then there's professional services on here for 30.
That's part of the correction as far as that.
Yeah, we've got to
city
correct
manager
both those line
Oh,
items.
okay. That's gonna go to 0 or?
No,
No,
because we
it'll-
have,
It'll be lower.
said. It'll be lower.
No luck. Okay.
What's it gonna be, Donna?
well,
It-
you don't know yet, because we also have, I mean, we have a
Roger.
Roger on contract, and mainly on the security side, the IT security side,
So
so.
this is Roger here, or is this?
Well, yeah, part of that is
Partial.
Roger, yeah,
Partial. The 30,000 was partial, Roger.
yeah. So we need to revisit that line item and the other line item.
Oh, because he's contract.
He's contracted.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the Human Resource Department. There was an increase for proposed, but some of them were just my error from last year. I didn't budget, for some reason, the medical evaluation services, so we budgeted for this year. That was 13,000.
The online application.
Where's that one?
Subscription.
Oh, yes, we also increased the subscriptions. That was for the online application system and just the Microsoft Office 365. So that's the reason, well, the main reason for the increase is the online application. Another thing we added was the community relations. We added 1150. That was just maybe for some special events and some staff events that Human Resources wanted to do. She does a lot of stuff, but a lot of times she pays out of her own pocket, so we were trying to
Yes.
kind of not make her pay. And I believe that was it.
You know, and I do like, and I'd like to see more of those pop-up kind of events that we have downstairs and for education. I like those. Those are nice. Fire department did that, and we recently did the other one with the all temps, and there's been several. So I like those. I don't know where those go, but I like those. Council, any other questions? Mr. Chris?
How many people do we actually have staffed in here?
2.
We do have both positions filled?
Yes.
Mr. Molina?
No, I like the way you presented that, because like you literally went down the whole thing
Yeah.
and depicted every like substantial difference,
Oh.
and that really helps out, because we don't have to go back and ask,
Yeah.
right? Now, the ones that are falling off for the deductions, I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about, but, I mean, they're noted, but that's great. But no, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Beck? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the fire department. This is a big one. Um, So this one, again, this did include a cost of living increase and then the holiday buyback, which we did include this prior year. We did increase their overtime as well. We did increase fuel, just because the prices were going up. We are kind of seeing them go down, but we're not too sure, so we did increase it from the original adopted budget. We did increase also their vehicle services, just because the repairs have been very costly, with all departments, actually. You'll notice that. And the internet, I'm not sure why we weren't, did they have the G-Tex, was theirs like a free service? And now they have actual, yes, okay. So they used to have, was it G-Tex? G-Tex, which was a free service, but I believe it wasn't really giving them much service.
Wasn't reliable.
So they went ahead and installed a Spectrum line for them, so that's the increase for the internet for that department. And I think that's about it for the fire.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
Yeah, going down to the bottom section there is this, for facility repair and maintenance. I know that we're looking to move here eventually to the armory, but it seems like in the past, we've always just kind of budgeted 8,000 and it's always been 20 plus. Consistently over the years, should we just budget 20? I mean, that's, I mean, it's one of those things where it's happened consistently, and it's not just this budget, not just the last budget, but it's been pretty consistent. I mean, something to consider. I mean, I really do think that we just need to look at it and say, hey, we're spending 20. Let's just say we're gonna spend it, and if we don't, we're better off, but let's budget for the idea that we're gonna need that extra $12,000. So, I know, again, we're supposed to be shaving stuff off, but we have to be realistic when it comes to some of this stuff. If it's consistently in that area, we need to remember that we're in that area.
And
Yeah.
Patrick, I mean, the 25 is where we are to date, and we did quite a bit for that. So is that the 8 that y'all came up with was, you know, the final end all
So,
for that? But we can.
Our problem is that we have, and we're getting out of one of them. You know, one of the buildings, I mean, they were built in 1953, so the buildings are old. We refurbished one of them, and we're still not completely done. There's some things that weren't really something they're things that could wait. But to tell you you know, how much we're gonna spend, I honestly don't, because you know, sometimes, I mean, just here recently, we walked in and half the building's electricity was out. Something blew, and we had to get an electrician to go out and fix it. So. Luckily, we'll be out of that building here pretty soon, but yeah, we're in old buildings. It's really what it comes down to.
So, I mean, so I don't have a problem with the idea that we know we're gonna spend money, but let's
Put it there.
put it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think that needs to be an adjustment too, because once we move over to the capital, on the second page, you know, the capital outlay, we're putting nothing there, but we know we're moving and we know we're gonna be spending money here pretty soon. Is that part of this budget, which isn't even on here either? Or is that gonna be part of the next budget? When that moves, I mean, because that's all capital improvement, capital outlay. So, I mean, where do we see that? Because I know we allotted, what, 4 meetings ago, something like that, 5 meetings ago, 100,000 for that move. But, I mean, we're not showing anything here. And is it carrying over, or are we gonna be done by the time we get to this budget?
We should be done by the time we get to this budget with the stuff with the majority of the stuff that we're doing over with the movie.
Okay, so we're gonna be seeing that in this revised budget this time around, or is it gonna be somewhere else, Mike?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the 100 that we talking about several times, Patrick, on you know, when we were talking about what allotting money, that money was coming from which fund?
That was coming out of
ARP?
the ARP.
The ARP,
That was the last conversation.
the last conversation? Okay. Because we had gone back and forth from a staff level. Was it the money that, the COVID money that, that we didn't get full amount for? Or was it ARP money? It's ARP money, we have it. Okay.
That's the American Relief.
Yeah.
American Relief Fund, yeah.
Because that can go towards fire safety, so.
Yeah.
That can go to general, anything we need.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, that's just something that would,
So y'all have the up to 100 right there,
Right,
allotted already?
right, that's for the
Okay.
move to the bigger building.
To the bigger.
okay. And then I also saw here on fuel, dropping it down to 25, you had talked about that. We went up to 42, of course, there, during all of our brush fires, we were paying $5, you know what I mean, a gallon, so the 25, a $10,000 adjustment is significant with the cost of insurance, cost of fuel increases.
We had kind of budgeted super high on Revise because we didn't know at that time how
Fuel
bad. We
price.
just kept thinking that the price was gonna continue going up. And then when we get to garage, you'll see we put into, get new pumps so that we could try and get fuel and be maybe saving money there, getting it at a lower cost. So that's why Revised, you'll see it kind of high on a lot of departments, but for next year, we kind of lowered it down again because we were hoping to already have pumps in and,
We can buy it in bulk.
Buy in bulk.
yes.
And it's
Right.
way less expensive.
Good. And then last one, actually, I'm sorry, minor equipment and small tools. We've consistently spent over what we budgeted. Is that another thing that we should look at increasing also, or do we feel we're at a point where we don't need a lot of
So
add-ons?
last budget, we capitalized a bunch of that equipment, and so we were able to replace a bunch of it, or we're in the process of replacing some of it. Same thing this year, they're waiting, I've got a list for them, and we're gonna capitalize that and just, instead of taking that out of the regular, we're leaving that for something that breaks along, you know, an axe breaks, we replace the axe.
Okay.
But some of these things are like thermal imagers, air packs, things like that, you know, they're higher cost equipment, and it would really be a significant increase to that little line item
Yeah.
if we threw it all into that. So we kind of try to capitalize that and put it in packages.
All right, that's it for now, thank you.
Mr. Molina?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Mr. Beck? Mrs. Flynn?
On wearing apparel, you have 40,000 proposed budget. Is that what, remember we talked about the uniforms, is that included, like a yearly change out?
Yes, so wearing apparel is in general, it's our regular PPE, bunker gear, helmets, boots, things
Right.
like that, but it's also our uniforms as well.
Okay.
All the way down to our boot vouchers and things like that. So all of that comes out of that same line item. And yes, so we have to kind of, we can't blow it all on one type of uniform every year, so we have to slowly kind of plan those out and replace it as we go.
Okay. Well, I know those were really expensive, that's why
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure it was included in
Yeah,
that.
so priority goes to our bunker gear.
Right.
You know, naturally, we want to look good too, and we want to have the uniforms and the badges and all those things, but, you know, the safety is the number one thing that I look at. And so there are times where we've had to not, you know, or not purchase them, but delay the purchase of maybe, you know, some button-down shirts or something like that because we needed to replace an unexpected amount of bunker coats or pants or boots or helmets.
Has there ever been grants for uniforms like that, because they're safety equipment? I mean, safety gear?
We have not been able
No?
to get any of those types of grants, no.
And the other question, and it might be a typo, I'm not sure, under travel expense on the second page, 34. You have total activity 5 for 2021, and then 2021, 22 is 10,000?
That's TIFMA's. So we're not sure
is
yet
that?
how much we'll be reimbursed for, so we just kind of,
That was a training or travel?
that's all the travel for the firefighters. So they're estimates, we're not sure
Oh.
yet. We're still submitting for reimbursement.
Reimbursements for that, okay, because I just thought that was like, wow, 10,000 and then only 1,000. Okay, that'll be it, thank you, Mayor.
So
Patrick.
on your overtime on the revised budget, it was 400,000, and then on the proposed budget, it's 175. You feel fairly confident in that number?
Again, it's one of those hard to predict type things. So this year, of course, the TIFMAS thing kind of threw that completely off. It was kind of hard to manage that. But again, predicting how many times we're going to have to bring people in that are off to come and fight a fire. We had, pretty busy wildland season this year. It's been, knock on wood, it's been a slow thunderstorm season. We haven't had a lot of, hurricanes or things like that have come through. So it kind of balances out, really. It's hard to predict, that kind of stuff.
So the 175, you feel fairly...
It's an increase from what we were normally used to budgeting in there, so we're trying to get it to where we can.
I'd like it to be lower. I mean, I'd like the overtime to be just the grant overtime. And the same thing with even when you'll see with the police department as well. Now, can we line item those? They have different line items and overtime for TIFMAS, overtime for Lone Star, overtime for those things?
Yeah, we can look at that.
Because
We do have a different pay code,
yeah,
so
we
when
have different pay
when
codes
they
that we
enter
can
that
use.
pay code, it'll say, I think overtime grant or TIFMAS.
Yeah, because a lot of the overtime is grant funded, and so that's why sometimes the numbers are really high. But if it's and with the police, we have different grants that we get, especially on the police side, and on the firefighter side, the TIFMAS is where we're the overtime is just through the roof, but that's reimbursable. So it hits our budget, but I'd like to line item that so we'll know exactly where it's coming from, but. I still would like to lower that 175 because we were fully staffed,
Yes,
but
so
now
we're short two right now.
We're short 2 right now.
Okay.
And
We
so
have
when
short 2, and then we have another one that's out on
Yeah.
long-term injury.
and so when we're short, I mean when we're fully staffed, then overtime is if somebody calls in sick, or if we have a fire that we need to call extra people in. So. Very legitimate reasons, if we get fully staffed, we will have a better control over it.
I wanted to ask on the weed and pest control supplies. Well, I guess they're not two, I was thinking they were in two different places, but I guess one says services and the other one's supplies, so now I kind of, never mind.
Supplies is just like if they buy just the little sprays or
Bug spray
something.
or
The
wasp spray.
services is actually like a pest control service coming
Okay.
out and spraying.
For the supplies, really, it's mostly like off, things like that, when the guys are out working in the field, and there's mosquito spray.
I didn't see the last word. Thank you. And on internet, we went up from 2020, 21 to a little higher
Yes.
on the revised. And what is that?
Yes, they used to have internet service with GTEx, and it was a free service for
Oh,
them.
so that's
Yes,
right now.
but,
Okay.
so now they have Spectrum.
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of G-Tech, and we had it in a lot of places for free, but it just wouldn't work for us. And so part of our revamp was going with Spectrum to be able to get them to provide service in all the different places. The airport especially, we didn't have any service out there. The water plant, getting something out to the water plant, and the fire department, the golf course, and so it was something that we did last year to organize it with a true paid service that was going to work for us.
Now, where do we stand on that contract? Because they came in and stood right there and said they were going to give us good, reliable service for X amount of time if we let them put their relays up on our towers. So is there something going on with that too? Because we were getting it for free because they were going to use our space, but now they're using our space but not giving us service. We need to be on top of that.
We're going to be addressing that with all of our providers on our towers. I know we're going through that one of them right now. That's wanting to revise the contract. Personally, I don't like to have anybody on our towers.
Well, I mean, if the service was good and we were getting something for
But,
free that's
yeah.
obviously costing us thousands of dollars now, it was worth it.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to provide service that is
Right.
comparable to that.
Yeah, so we'll start.
They should be paying rent.
We'll start sending the bills.
So.
300,000.
Now, I do have another question, though, if you don't mind, real quick.
Sure.
Going back to fire marshal, we have no I know it's one person or multiple persons, but we have no stipend allotted to that. Is that somewhere else on the budget?
There is no fire marshal, or is there? I don't remember.
There's fire inspector stipends.
Yeah, so the stipends are included with the position, so.
In the positions?
Mhm. In the
Okay,
positions.
okay. That was the one. That was it.
Thank you.
I just had one more comment.
Oh.
And I just want to thank the chief who's, for your conservative mindset. I mean, this is why we're here, right, to cut back and see things that are vital and necessary. And the fact that, like, when Councilman Chris talked about the minor equipment, small tools, and how you said, hey, we know it's going to be, it might be more, but we don't know. So right now, we're kind of playing it on the backside. Same thing with back to the facility repair and maintenance services of the move. That's the kind of mindset we need, because we really don't have a lot to go on, and we're trying to cut back. And you can sit there and say, well, I can have all this if I want it, but you're being kind of conservative about it.
Funny you say that, because if you ask the city manager, I want everything, right? But
It's kind of a want list, huh?
yeah, don't tell Patrick there's a building, because he's gonna want it. But no, it's a fire departments. They're very hard, because you kind of need the service and you want to budget the right amounts, but you also you have to have to be conservative and know that if you really don't need something, we're not going to buy something. We try to be as conservative as possible. But sometimes the situations dictate what we're having to spend and what we're
It's
having
really
to
hard
do.
to predict, but to predict on like I say, on the lower end, I mean, we appreciate that. Thank you, Michael, appreciate it. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have municipal court. There's 2 positions in that department. We also, this is where the municipal court judge is paid out of. Hers is a salary contract. Then we also have the city prosecutor. She is paid hourly, so it just depends on how many cases, or that's how we're billed. So it just always depends on how much she works. We also have an increase. We do have an increase this year also because they do have the new building, so we did increase for electricity, telephone, I believe, do we put internet? I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. No internet, okay. So those are some items you'll see increases in. Also, travel. Every 2 years, I believe they have to go to find out, to Austin for any new laws that have passed. So every 2 years, the judge and I believe the municipal court manager travel to, and I believe the prosecutor as well, just to get briefed on any new laws.
Council, Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Park?
No.
Mr. Molina?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Can you explain the electricity? Let me see. And on the city prosecutor, we went from 38 to 50, and then we kept it at 50. Can you explain why that increase?
Yes, I believe in 2021, they weren't having too many cases yet with COVID.
Because of
So,
COVID.
and like I said, she's billed hourly, so it just depends on how many times they go to court or how many hours she spends on these cases. So, this year and next year, we should be, having court as usual, so.
Now, do you have history from what we were paying prior to COVID?
We could. She wasn't separated? What about 19? Let me see what we can.
I want to say it was like about 45, but I'm not sure. 45, 47, maybe.
We'll look into it more. It looks like in, let me see.
At least that's my assumption.
21, it was 38,000.
So smart.
20, it was 26,000.
That's COVID.
That was COVID.
Yeah.
But 19, it looks like it was 33,000.
33, so
So-
that's a big,
We can look into it more.
yeah, if you can check into that. Because then if.
I think we put the 50 as a round number.
Right.
On there,
Right.
and what the revised budget
She's
though
at
is.
40, she's at 43 right now.
I thought it was like about 40,
Case catch-up.
45.
She,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I
It could be
believe it is.
catching
Yeah.
up from
Case
those.
She's at
cases
43
that
right now?
were kind of
43 already
Oh.
with 3 months left or 2
Yeah,
months left.
so
Okay.
it should
Case
be
catch-up,
okay.
because they had working.
Yeah, so also just to remind you on the revised budget, so we're estimating the last 2 months. Because when this was done, it was in July, the end of July.
And on capital outlay, again, you don't anticipate anything for this coming budget then?
We were kind of spending it at that's
During
why it's
this
on
year.
revised.
The
to get the
renovations for the new
renovation.
building.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
Next, we have police administration. So this is the police chief and then his support services supervisor.
Okay.
And there's just a few items that been spending. We put in some more for minor equipment, small tools. They purchased for some training tables and chairs. A new item that we added and proposed was the impound wrecker service fees. There will be some revenue though that will offset this. This is something new that he's working on. Oh, there he is, okay. And then community relations, we also increased that one just so that they can be involved in more community events and have money to provide for the citizens. And I think that's about it. The rest are pretty much in line with prior year.
Mr. Chris, any questions?
And this is only the admin department, so this is, not support or CID or patrol.
Yeah, now, professional services dropped off from 62,000 to 4,600 to 0.
Professional, that was, I believe, when we had the police chief on contract, the prior chief.
Okay, that was the contract?
Mhm, yes.
Okay. And what about the one below it, another
The
professional?
other professional, let me check on that one.
I forget it's been that recent.
It feels like
Right?
forever,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I thought it was too.
So some of it had to do actually with the search for the police chief, and then background checks,
Okay.
Goes hand in hand.
Okay.
yes.
Very good.
mhm.
I like that we have nothing budgeted.
Kicking around.
Still here.
I'm gonna handcuff you to your desk, make
We're
sure,
forced to stay.
make sure you stay.
Nothing else, Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Molina,
No, I'm good.
Mr. Parker, Mrs. Bowen.
No, thank you.
On the salary, we did go up, so that's the support service supervisor, or what caused that increase? From the, well, okay. I guess in 2021 it was lower, and then it's been,
Because it was captured over there in the
It's
other
professional
professional
services.
services.
okay. Chief office supplies, it went up? No, just.
She's looking for
A lot of
something
bidding.
to ask. She's
He
looking
has
for
to keep
something.
everything organized.
He's like, he told Patrick, no questions for me, Patrick.
And then facility repair and maintenance, it went down. You don't anticipate anything at 5,000 you feel comfortable with?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would the police, the PD
I was gonna say it's
remodel
part
is
the
gonna be
same
under
thing.
this one,
Yes.
under which one will it be under?
It's gonna
Because
fall under
this
like
one
the
falls
fire
under-
department.
Yeah, huh?
It's gonna fall under the same situation with AARP.
But I mean, which one would it have been
Yeah.
under with ARP funding hit regardless?
Gotcha.
Which one would have been under the general fund? I mean, which one, you know what I mean?
It would have been under admin.
Administration.
Administration.
Administration
would have been
Yes,
here.
yes, so anything we purchase for the building, it falls under their administration department.
I was wondering who that was. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Oh, he's not done.
He's
Oh,
not,
yeah, I know, you got more.
Sorry.
Other departments.
Thank you for phase one.
Brace yourself.
Yes. So next we have his support services, which is his record clerks and his dispatchers. And there was a slight decrease, let me see what. It looks like some of the salaries decreased a little bit. It could have been that maybe some left that had been here a little bit longer, and with the new hires, they're coming in at a, step one.
Right.
Where do the?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where do the proposed funded versus unfunded compare to last year's? Do we have that information?
I'm sorry, the what?
the function sheet, he wants to see the.
Oh, sorry,
to see the
okay.
comparison.
Should be 11. Okay.
Reduced.
Last year was 265, 758,
Oh, that's right.
and it had 7 dispatchers at 206,349.
That's the difference.
Mhm.
And also the records clerk, the half.
The records clerk also was at a lower salary last year than this year. And then we added, but then this year we added the parks monitor on here.
We've always had the park monitor, we're just now showing it on the function sheet. We hadn't shown it on the function sheet prior to. It was already an existing position, it just wasn't on the function sheet.
But dispatch going down by 23,000
Correct.
with the same number of people?
It's
Yes,
the same. We
yes, 23.
Existing already.
Yeah, we can look into the positions more, but I'm thinking it's seniority kind of thing. Like maybe they were at a,
Well, it shows them all
Higher
grade
rate,
10s,
step.
so now it got me
They were
wondering.
at a higher step and we're
Steps.
hiring at a lower
Okay.
step.
Yeah, let's just validate that, please, because
Yes.
we're filling the same number of positions, but we're dropping by 26. so-
Yeah, that doesn't,
Yeah. Now, do these fall under the civil service?
No.
Percent, no, okay.
it'll only be
standard
CID
one?
and patrol. And no, the chief is not civil service, no.
No. Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. President?
Give me 1 second to look at the government notes again.
Okay, Mr. Molina,
No, I'm good.
Mr. Grant,
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
I just have one question, and you probably just moved it. 56500, the GPS monitoring, did we move it somewhere else, or we don't budget for that here?
There's not a unit in that department.
There's not
They
a
don't
unit
have
in this
a
department?
vehicle.
Oh, okay, so it was budgeted at one time, but they took
There
that out.
was an officer that did have a unit in that position prior to.
Prior, okay, that's why, okay. Okay, I think that's it, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
next we have the CID, which is a Criminal Investigation Division. This has a total of 7 officers. Now, we did make a change here, though. Last year, on the function sheet, we had 3 sergeants and 1 police officer, and we switched with patrol. So we gave patrol 1 sergeant, and then patrol gave us 1 police officer. So we still have the same number in total, but it's just a switch of those positions. And there is an increase and some of it is, one of the items was minor equipment, small tools. We were buying items for the new units and I think the crime scene van, so we put in some money and revised and proposed for that. Another item is the professional services, and this is for the investigator that we have on contract. He works Monday through Wednesday, but we did receive some money from the Wyatt Ranches to offset some of this salary. Another item is the software maintenance agreement, and we didn't budget last year. It was probably a mistake. But this is for the data pilot and then the PTS solution, which is some of the software that the police officers use.
This is moving them away from the laptops, right, to more of a tablet.
I'm not sure.
That's our ultimate goal.
Okay.
That's where we're wanting to go, just because of the expense of the laptops. Right? So we have a couple of consumers paying $3,500 to $4,000, whereas on an iPad, for instance, we can get it for $600 and save not the usage.
And even if it gets damaged, we can get 6 of them before we're back at the same price.
Yes, sir.
So,
Get a nice rubber case.
yeah.
Yes.
So, there you go. Okay.
Mr. Crisp, any other questions?
No, ma'am. No, right now, thank you.
Mr. Bonino?
I just had one quick, just off the wall question. I know you mentioned something about, we're talking about professional services and we're talking about those values and I know you mentioned something about a Wyatt Ranch donation. Where does that fall in as far as like putting it in there, listing it?
We'll show it on the revenue side on the, I think it
Okay.
was, I can see what page.
No, I was just wondering where that number was gonna come in, that's all.
You'll see the money come in and, but then you'll have the expense, so they'll kind of wash each other out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we have it under donation.
Is it gonna be for that total
It was
amount?
internal from the revenue.
No.
I don't
it's
believe it
partially,
covered the
right,
whole
It's
thing.
not a
Okay.
full.
It's on
wash.
page 9. The Wyatt Ranches, I believe it covered some of the salary, correct? Oh, it's
Oh,
all
it
of
is?
it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
Wow.
That is awesome.
So Wyatt Ranch, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Wyatt.
Next year, if we decide to keep it, we'll go for another.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Mr. Brown? Mrs. Bowen?
Well, I just have one question, and under 54-250, the facility repair maintenance service, you have 1,000. I know the crime scene department moved to this other building here.
Yes.
Do you foresee any repairs, maintenance that, to upgrade that building that should come out of this?
Not right now, ma'am.
No?
I mean, we checked it. We did have air conditioning company come, look at all our air conditioners probably last week
Okay.
and do some minor, I think it was $285 for the repairs there. Other than that, that's it. I am going to do some landscaping on the outside, but that'll be paid on separate.
Right.
Other than that, I don't foresee any other issues.
Okay.
I
Sounds
forgot
good.
to mention that they're at a new building, so we did
Yes.
include electricity and.
The utilities.
Yes,
all the
I noticed that too.
utilities. Sorry.
Like, good deal. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
So, you can just let me know, because I might have missed it, but we kept the same amount of employees. Our salary did go up. That was due to what?
So, we did switch a sergeant, we moved out a sergeant.
That was the-
But we brought
okay.
in a patrol officer,
Salary
but
went
then
down.
they did
Okay.
receive a 2% cost of living.
I mean, it went down 4,000, but,
It went
yeah,
down.
I'm sorry.
Down.
Yes.
But I meant from the 20, 21, anyways, to the trend, that was the, okay. Thank you, and let me see.
Okay, the next department is the Drug Enforcement Task Force. This is just a small little department for,
So
Okay.
that position is, works out of the DA office in Corpus. So we pay his salary, DA pays his overtime, pays his vehicle, pays our gas, pays everything else. And then that's where we're at with that position. And it's Officer Sorensen, and he's assigned to DEA. We don't see him.
We don't see it.
We don't mention his name.
I wasn't even gonna say it.
I was like, who's that again? I
We
don't know
scratched
him.
it out.
Mr. Chris?
No.
Mr. Molina?
I'm good.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you. Good.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have patrol and traffic. Like I said, last year we had 4 sergeants. We increased that to 5. And then we did add 1 officer. We lowered the cadets, which is the next department, from 2 to 1. And then we added a new patrol officer to patrol and traffic. And with this new officer, the chief was hoping that he could serve warrants, be the bailiff, investigate hit and runs, and then escort the funerals to make sure we had someone, for that.
Mr. Chris?
Oh, I have some more points that you want me to mention. So we did go up on the minor equipment, small tools. This was to outfit some of the new units that they have. Minor information tech equipment, it was, I believe, Tough Looks for the new units. Vehicle repair maintenance services, there was another oversight from current, so we did budget it for next year. Equipment hire and rentals, those are the leased vehicles that we are, that we have in that department. And I believe that's it. The rest is pretty much in line for next year.
Mrs. Bowen, any questions?
This 3,000 for animal care, what exactly does that cover, more or less?
That's
Animal care,
that's the feed, and I believe
that's for your
like
canine?
Correct.
vet
And the vet
services.
Like the vet services?
Yes.
and- Okay.
And then some of the dog food, well, all of the dog food. For
Does-
both canines, because we have 2. And so now the school will then turn around and I have to pick up the check from the school, because they're supposed to give us that money.
Okay. Does that include his vest, or he doesn't have a vest?
No, ma'am, he doesn't have.
He doesn't have a vest?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We don't send him in, it's, if he was an attack dog,
Yeah,
yes, ma'am, but we don't
not for this.
have a vest on.
Drug dog.
Yes, ma'am,
Gotcha.
not right now.
Gotcha. Thank you. They all need vests, though.
No, ma'am,
I'm just kidding.
he's always the last one to go in.
You know how I am about the canine. No, I think that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Burke? Mr. Molina?
That looks good.
Mr. Chris?
No, I'm good.
And on the overtime,
Yes, ma'am.
we went to 50,000. You anticipate, because it shows like kind of 200, 125, 200, and it shows 50 for this
Till the end of the year?
proposed.
For next year, I think it's along the lines of what the city manager mentioned. We want to do a better job of going with the grants.
And they have Border Star, Lone Star, and Stone Guard.
Stone Guard.
Lone Star. 3.
They have Border Star, Lone Star, Operation Stone Garden, which is partnering with the county, and then Lone Star. And they use those for their overtime. The Lone Star grant pays overtime for dispatchers as well. And we're, at next week's city council meeting, we'll bring you a new Lone Star application that's due the end of this month.
Okay, thank you.
So you feel really comfortable with that number?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I
With
think
the
we
50?
can make do with all our grants.
With the grants? Okay, great job.
Nice.
Okay. The next department we have is the cadet program. And we lowered it from last year, as I said, well, from this budget year, to one cadet. So we lowered the salaries and then the tuition expense in half. So it's just to send one officer to cadet school.
Council, Mr. Chris, any questions?
They've added workers' compensation to this.
I did, just because, well, we have them, we didn't allocate it for it last year, so I'm allocating for it this year to divide it between all the departments.
Mr. Molina?
No, I'm glad we have it, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Mrs. Brown?
No, thank you.
And we just went to one versus, we used to have two, you said?
Yes, ma'am. So we had 2 cadets last year. This year, there's a couple of things that I'm looking at. So I want a new officer. So we have a cadet right now. We don't have a position for him.
Okay.
So I could either have that one position that we're trying to fill, or we can do away with the cadet positions next year and combine both cadet positions and make one position for a full-time officer. So I have a backup plan for that if it doesn't pan out.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The next we have, it's just some minor little programs within the police department. We have the substation, so there we just budget for janitorial supplies, some minor equipment they might need, the electricity at the substation, and the natural gas for that substation.
Okay, I think,
Which one's that one?
That is the one on
What
O'Neill.
page?
I think we're missing
Oh,
something.
sorry,
Yeah,
Miss,
because we
page
don't have
52.
it.
52?
Yeah,
Oh, it's
our
missing the cover.
51 goes from
253.
the candidate program to 53, which is the backup for 43617.
Oh, I apologize.
So the substation is the one that's
No, we
at
have
the,
52.
housing.
We don't have
authority?
whatever
Or
supposed
which
to be.
one?
There's not one.
It's
There-
page 52,
Yes.
sorry.
It's just gonna have.
It's just,
expenses
there's not a
listed.
function sheet for it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, when you
Okay.
said
There's
minor
no function
programs, I
sheet.
saw the last number of $3.6 million.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And then
sorry.
it kind of got thrown off there.
Sorry.
I
No.
apologize.
Yeah, no, there's
Okay.
not a function.
Yeah, there's no function sheet.
It-
Okay.
Yeah, they're
No
just
function
minor
sheet.
little
Okay.
programs. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
So,
So it's
No.
an apartment
Substation, there it
that we
is.
have, it's a substation, they had it in years past. They reopened it back to us about a year ago. And so we've been furnishing it little at a time.
Okay.
So what we've done with it, we have the new officers that are coming in, that we've hired, they're from out of town, so they'll be living there. So it'll also give them an opportunity to work and have presence in the housing authority in that area, the Heritage. So it'll be beneficial to them too. And then we also have like Crime Stoppers, also has their meetings there, and we also have, yes ma'am.
okay.
Once
And what is that total cost or any cost for that?
For that little program, $2,180.
So-
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, don't have any questions on that one? No. Okay.
What's listed right below the substation is a LEOS program, and that is, we receive money, I think it's from the state, correct?
Correct.
And it's for their travel, so we budget usually exactly what they give us, and that's for the officers to attend some training.
Very good. Okay. Council, any questions on that? Thank you.
Next, we have the Humane Department. We have 2 humane officers in this department. We did increase the overtime for them, just based on what they've been putting in so far. We also increased their minor equipment, small tools. They needed some more catch pools. They needed a camera and a monitor and a printer for their offices, or office, not offices. We also increased their medical evaluation and services. And that's about it for that department.
Council, any questions on this? Mr. Chris?
No.
Mr. Molina?
So there was a small salary increase then?
Yes,
Just
the
1%.
1%.
Okay. That's all.
That's it. Thank you. Mr. Booth?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. I don't have questions, but I do have a comment that I'm going to tell you, I'm so proud of this department. And I've gone over there to visit, and they're doing a wonderful job. From a few years ago, it looks so nice. And the animals there, I mean, my goodness.
I'd love to take credit for it, but I need them to step.
They're
I'm
doing
just,
a good
thank
job.
you.
I'll let them know.
Tell them thank you for that.
And helping getting those dogs adopted with
Yes.
photos
They've
and,
been doing a good job, and they have been.
Yes.
We hope to expand soon.
yes, we do.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. I just.
Next, we have Public Works Administration. We did not budget anything for next year. We don't have anyone in that department. We just had some history in there, so that's why we included it. And we had something that hit in revised, but we shouldn't have any more expenses be hitting this department.
Council, Mr. Chris, any questions? Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay, then the next department is the streets department. We did have some increases. One of them was the facility repair maintenance supplies. We increased it to 5,000. I know they needed to do some repairs on their little building, so we included some money for them to do that. We also increased their electricity just based on what we were paying this year. We increased their vehicle repair services just based on repairs. A lot of the units are old and the costs have been going up. We increased the street repair maintenance services by about 10,000. And that's about it on the streets department for big variances.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm good.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Bowen?
Under street repair and maintenance, did you mention why it went down to 20,000? It was from what,
The street repair maintenance
yeah,
supplies?
yeah, supplies, the supplies.
So
We're gonna, so part of that is when we're doing on the ARPA funds that we're doing the underground construction,
Oh, yes.
that money's gonna come, the additional money that we need for the streets is coming from there.
From there, okay.
Because we're doing the roads that need both. I mean, if it needs underneath, the street's pretty bad anyway, so.
Right. Okay.
That's why that allocation is different than last year.
Okay, I see. That's where it comes from. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
That answered my question.
Okay.
Right?
Next, we have the garage department. And we do have an increase on the professional services. Let me look that up, but I believe that's the, is it AARC, I believe? And then another thing you might notice, we had mentioned earlier in the revised, we put in 55,000, and that was for the pumps out at the garage.
For the what?
The pumps.
Oh.
Mhm. They had been down, and we just needed a whole new system.
Council?
But that's what it is. Yes, it's the AARC. It's the spill prevention. Oh my.
Hey, it says time for lunch.
11:57. Somebody needs to move around so the lights stay on.
Council, any questions on this? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you, not right now.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Chris?
Yeah, so you said there was an increase in professional services. Is that the one that counters the decrease in other professional services?
Yes, we're moving it. We're
Combining
gonna,
them, we're kind of,
We're getting rid of that.
Yeah.
other professional
56,300.
line, yes. So you'll probably notice that on a lot of them where that
Yes.
one is 0, but then on professional,
It's
it
increased.
increased. And it's just, it was kind of, I guess, confusing the differences. So
One
it's
fell
just
into
Don't
one.
one
understand the
category.
difference between the two.
Okay.
So we're just making it one.
Yeah,
A little
when
cleaner.
we say we have increases there, we also have some decreases that
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
offset.
Correct.
Just make sure that that's being stated. so-
Yes, sorry.
No problem.
And I wanted to ask you on this, I know we've gone away from doing some of the repairs ourselves within our garage, and we've outsourced that. Do we have any kind of history, some kind of historical data to show us what our savings or our increases or how that trend
how
has
it's
been?
impacting us, no, we
Yeah.
don't, but we can certainly do
Is that
something against
something we
something.
could have to
Yes,
be
ma'am.
presented to us? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Esparza, do you think this is a time
Probably get through the
to get,
Well, we got just a few. Let's see, 1, 2.
Some of those are.
We got some real
also-
small ones, so maybe
Right.
we can probably
Okay.
push it through.
We're down.
all right,
Okay,
Okay, I'll be quick.
no hard questions.
Next, we have engineering. Not much change for this department. We did increase our overtime just because I know one of the employees has been doing a lot of going out and with all the grants, he's been having to go out there a lot more, and it may be at, later hours, so we did increase his overtime for that. But other than that, let me see, hold on. There was an increase on, we increased the fuel just in case. And then subscriptions, we doubled that one. Let me see what that was for. It might be the, oh no, that is something. It is AutoCAD? So, yes, one of the subscriptions is the AutoCAD, which is the software for the engineering department.
okay, council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
No, thanks.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Next, I just,
Oh,
I
sorry.
do have
Oh,
a
okay.
question. Sorry.
That's okay.
I wanted to ask you, in this department, we don't have an in-house engineer, and also wanted to see what kind of cost savings and data we have for that.
By having our own.
Yes, and the, where do we place the building inspector's fees and that in here?
It's
That's gonna be in the
sections.
Yeah, it'll be in
Inspection.
Inspection.
Inspections?
It's a
Okay.
couple of
Okay. And then so if we use an engineering company, where do we see that, where will we see that cost?
Depends on where,
Yeah, it
what
depends
department
who
is.
needed it.
Yes,
What he's
it
working
depends
on.
where it's
Okay,
the project.
okay, but if we can have that history or data and stuff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
No, you're
okay. Next, we have parks. We did have an increase in this department. We increased the fuel a little bit. We increased the facility maintenance supplies. You're gonna notice that on a lot of little items like the parks, supplies and things like that. And that's because, last year we still had COVID, so a lot of the little leagues weren't really using the fields. So this year was a year when they started having more of the,
There was more utilization and
Yes.
stuff.
So, You'll notice that on like park athletic field supplies, we went from 9,000 to 20,000. That's for, you know, the chalk and the dirt and, you know, if they need bases or anything like that. Electricity went up as well, like I said, because now they are having the leagues, which, you know, some of the events are at night, so the lights are on. Equipment repair maintenance services, we went up on that one just because some of the tractors are old and repairs have been rather costly. Equipment hire and rentals, we increased as well. That's for the leased units that we have. Like I said, park and athletic field services, we budgeted 5,000 just in case, you know, they need to go out there and service something for the fields. And, or even for the, no, that's park, never mind, that's not the equipment. And I believe that's it.
Okay, council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am, not right now.
Mr. Molina?
No.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. I wanted to just, wanted to ask on the equipment, you said for capital outlay, we don't have anything. So on the minor equipment, you said we didn't do very much, but we increased on repairs because of the equipment that we have.
On the
I know,
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I know we purchased some lawnmower, did we? We purchased recently, right, some lawnmowers?
Yeah, we purchased 2 tractors.
Do you anticipate needing any extra ones or anything else for maintenance on the ballparks or?
We did turn in capital equipment for us.
And it has 0 on there or?
Yeah, we haven't added those.
That's another portion of the budget.
Mhm.
Another portion?
Yes.
Where's that gonna be at?
It usually comes in.
On the capital.
What the, you're talking about the category 80? Or which one?
What section? 9?
Yeah, on the capital
Section
improvement
9, yes,
program.
sorry.
Section 9 of the capital improvement program.
Section 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the budget. Have the budget.
Okay.
And once we get there, I mean, there's the things that we want to talk about, once we get to the program, things that we may want to add. So they're not going to, yeah, we'll have a 0 here, but once we get to there.
We'll get to that.
See what you guys want to put in there so we can figure out a way to fund it.
Right. Okay. What page is that gonna be on? Section 9?
181.
181?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you.
All right, yes. And, do I need to? Okay. Okay, next, we have the neighborhood facility, which is the Old Boys and Girls Club. So we did, it's only 1,600 in there, and it's just facility supplies, and electricity for the building.
Council, any questions on
You
this?
said 16 grand or 1,600?
I'm sorry,
16.
1,600.
Okay, I was like, we got a different number here.
Sorry.
No, we're good. Okay.
1,600.
Any questions, Mr. Chris?
No.
No? Mr. Molina?
No.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen? No. Okay. And Mr. Esparza, on this one then, do we have, I know this probably isn't the proper place because it's budget, but I just want to know maybe if we have plans for it in the future.
We need to figure out what to do with it. Well, I mean, we've put it out for bids once, one of twice, I believe. And I am going to be looking for
Working on
direction
that.
from you guys again to see what do we want to do with this property. Want to keep it and make it something, want to try to get rid of it again. It needs to be a discussion that you guys kind of direct me on because, yeah, we don't want it just sitting there anymore.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Interested parties fell through?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of times, yeah, you know, it's also, the back part of it is considered a park property and may need to be for a referendum to allow the citizens to say, yes, let's get rid of the park property. there's, it's not just as easy as some of the other places that we have we can get rid of because it is labeled, part of it is labeled a park, not the entire property.
Because right now we're listing just the building and the parking
Yeah.
lot, correct?
Sorry about that, okay, let's go.
Okay, next we have inspections. We did make one change. We moved one clerk from inspections to codes. During the 2022 budget, we had 2 clerks here. But we felt it was more in line to have one clerk in inspections and one in codes. That's about, there wasn't too much or much else for this department. Professional services, we did go down a little bit. The director mentioned negotiating some prices with one of the companies for, that would benefit the city. So we kind of lowered it based on his recommendation. Yes.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
We had it proposed under, as far as salaries and revenue, and payroll, 56. Why did we put it under extra help instead of just under the same salary wages line item? I know you said you moved somebody, but we have $26,000 under extra help. It seems like that person is still there underneath, but underneath a different code.
Right, so we have, right now we have a contract person in there.
Okay.
And so we moved it to, what we do, Vanessa? We moved it to salaries, or do we leave it in extra?
She's not an employee, so she's a temp.
Temp.
It's a
So
temp
she's
service.
under extra help. Mhm.
So what was your question, Mr. Chris?
So is that person going away?
That extra help would go away, and then that position would
So
get
we're gonna
funded.
fund it now in the
In-
other one.
in Right.
So she's gonna be, so it's gonna be extra help on the other one, on codes?
You would see that.
Well,
No, it would be an
no.
employee.
Yes.
Employee.
It'd
we're
be an
moving it
employee
as
under
an
the code.
employee,
It would
not
be a
a
salary
Right.
position.
Okay,
Under salary.
all right. Okay, that was it.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bell?
No, thank you.
Okay. And then this is where you said in inspections is where we would see, and that's professional services, that's the.
Those are the inspections, those are outsourced.
Okay. All right.
Next is the codes department, and like I mentioned, you'll see the increase. This is because we moved one of the clerks from inspections over here. You will see another increase on equipment hire and rentals. This is for the unit leases. And also we included 10,000 for mechanic liens. There was another oversight there that we didn't budget for it.
What was that?
The mechanic liens, we budgeted $10,000 for it. That's when they go and file at the courthouse,
At the courthouse.
the lien on the property.
Council, any questions?
$10,000, how many liens does that cover?
I think it's $25 a lien. And they,
Liens.
It's a lot of mowing.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
We have, and that's a result of adding the extra positions. It's a lot more work to be done and more yards to be found that aren't mowed and more orders to mow yards. And it's busier and that we have the people to do the work, so it increases the amount of liens that we're filing.
And then, can you please let me know what extra help is, because it seems like we're staying there after moving people around, and so the extra help is what?
Is that my
Your
motor?
temps.
Those are
The
his
temps.
temps.
The temps.
So we have a crew of employees or temp employees these are the guys that actually go out and cut the yards when somebody doesn't cut the yard. and then we turn around and file the liens on that property for the cost of that.
We treat them like temp employees, not like contract services?
They're
They're through the temp agency.
Oh, they're through an
Parents
agency?
Yes.
And the beauty of those, if
They're not working
if they're
out.
not needed,
You can send
because
them.
they've caught up on the mowing, then
We don't bring them in.
he doesn't
don't we?
have to.
And that happens, if we get a real rainy season, we're gonna have an increase on the amount of yards that need to be mowed and the people that aren't keeping up with their yards. So, when it's drier, we have less employees, we don't have to have as many crews out there working, but we have the ability to go up to at least 3 crews. Right now, we're only at 1, because it's obviously dry, we're hoping nobody's watering their grass either right now, so, with our restrictions, but yeah, so that's the reason that we've kept it into those temporary employees is because we can, if we have a need for it, we can increase the amount of crews that we have and then decrease it when we need to.
There's more flexibility in that.
It's harder to cut employees when they're full-time employees.
Okay. Well, that's why I just didn't know if it was gonna fall under contract services or extra help. But it's not professional services, so okay. All right. That was it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Molina?
Wow, so we spend that much money? That's insane. Like, I didn't see
Right?
this as a big picture. Okay. Where does that overtime come in? for this
Overtime,
department?
there's been a couple different incidents where we've had to call the code officers in, special events, like for instance, we had the Lake Days event, we needed code officers out there, so that was some overtime for them. Anytime they work on an evening or a weekend, and it happens, a lot of times we'll get complaints over the weekends where there's a vendor that's set up, it doesn't have a permit, we've got to call somebody out to come and take a look at them and process the permit or get them to, shut down or something like that.
Seems like a lot of overtime for that department, right? I mean, I didn't think they'd be that much, but
And we did discuss, we're looking at maybe adjusting some schedules and trying to stagger when the code officers are working. We have that ability now that we have so many of them that we can kind of play with the schedules a little bit to try to capture some of those evening hour type of requests.
just an observation, man. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Molina?
No, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Mr. Rick? Mrs. Bowen? Oh, no, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we have the library department. Slight increase in the salaries. Like I said, it's the cost of living. There's also an increase on the internet services, but we are looking into that because we do receive E-rate, and we believe it was just an oversight with E-rate and Spectrum, so that should be going down, that 14,000.
There's a $12,000 advantage expense.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But we had budgeted based on what we had spent this year, but then we looked into it more and we should be receiving a credit from, it's E-rate, correct? Yes. And, that's about it.
Yeah, I got a question for you here. What about PEG funds? I know I think I've asked this before, but it's for government and education. I mean, is there any portion of that we can maybe allocate towards our library to assist in that? Because that money comes from the cable companies and the same thing like he was talking about where they're not collecting the proper taxes for Netflix and stuff like that. There's PEG funds that are supposed to come out of these types of services that come into the city. We used it before for our cameras and everything like that.
That's what I was thinking.
Is there any way to allocate any of that back towards?
I think it's for broadcasting.
I think it's for broadcasting
Because
purposes.
we're able to use it in here,
In here.
correct?
So maybe
Oh,
if
for
they wanted some
broadcasting
equipment for
Right.
broadcasting, maybe some of their programs.
So Janine did some little creative
During
things
COVID,
online
yeah.
that can be, but it's broadcasted, so
Right.
that's kind of where
I was
that.
gonna say,
Well,
she still
and
does
if
broadcasting.
if she's doing her
Right.
weekly family read-alongs and and stuff like that, and utilizing the internet, maybe there's a portion of that that can be covered also in order to
We can
get
look
this
into
done.
that.
To look into it, to
Because-
see how we
Yes.
can allocate.
Yeah.
You know, better cameras over there for her programs. I mean, like we're doing right now to try to raise funds for a family reads together. And I know that she puts a lot of those crafts out there. I mean, technically, we're broadcasting that information, so we need to figure out how we can utilize it.
She's coming over here to do that, but maybe if we left her over there.
If we left her over there,
Yeah.
yes.
Some equipment.
But
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't be bad to be in the library when you're talking about the library.
Right.
So it's
There you
something to
go.
definitely look at, if we can utilize that in order to assist the library over there, so.
I hadn't even
Just a
Yeah.
thought.
No.
Once we
We'll do
fix
that.
the
Thank you.
AC though.
Huh?
Once we fix the AC though, because it's hot,
Well,
you know? Not too bad? Nah.
Well, PEG funds are utilized
It's
funds. so-
comfortable, right?
We'll keep, well, she's over there already anyway.
You're walking in from 120?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, so it's okay.
It's cool.
Mr. Molina.
No, I have no questions.
Okay, Mr. Kerr?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
I have a question on books, 52910. Now, I know there was a grant last time, didn't we, wasn't there something with the grant that we offset this amount? For the books?
Years ago, we got a $10,000 grant
Oh, okay.
from a private foundation.
Oh.
And they used that for purchase of books.
Oh, okay, so
But
we
that
don't,
was several years.
that's not a yearly thing that we can, that we do?
And actually, this amount has gone down a lot over the years.
Oh, really? Okay.
A lot.
All righty then. Okay, I just remember that grant, offsetting this. No, thank you. Okay.
Let me see.
Okay. The last
I
department
wanted
we
to
have.
Oh, wait,
ask
hold
one
on.
Oh,
thing,
sorry.
I'm sorry. And I'm gonna mention
I'm sorry.
something later. That's fine, you're fine. I just, on the, let me see, where is it? On this one, we don't have anything, Mr. Esparza, on capital outlay or anything? Or like any kind of modifications or anything?
At the library?
No. Okay. I know the sign too, I just wanted to see if we could get that
I believe that
She-
was part of your
That
list,
was
the
one of-
sign for the library? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a request.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, the next department is the grants department, and like we mentioned at the beginning, we did move the Director of External Relations position to this department. So you will see that increase, but we also may need to increase it a little bit more. We didn't include, supplies for him or cell phone or things like that, so this department may go up just a little bit more.
Any questions, council? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
No? Mr. Burke?
No, thank you.
Mr. Molina?
Nope.
Mr. Chris?
All I can say is that essentially what you're saying is by putting him in this position and him getting grants, he should be paying his own salary.
The
You got a
reality
grant
is,
for your salary?
Making a statement here, buddy.
the reality is that they do, I mean, Barbara, the grants that she works on, and she's capped on the grants that she can work on. I mean, they pay for themselves, yeah.
All right, just checking.
That's the, that's into the general fund, and what we were planning is on Thursday is starting with the other funds, doing the utility fund, solid waste, airport, golf course, and multi-use for Thursday. And depending on how that goes, go on to the debt service, hotel occupancy, capital improvement, and a recap going back to the beginning on the summaries. But for sure, getting at least those 5 funds in on Thursday.
Okay.
And if we can move forward, then move forward. If not, we'll have another meeting on the following Thursday.
I have one little thing that I had written down, and this is kind of my little bullet points and wish list. I don't know.
in reference to our workshop, I wanted to, at some point, to address the organizational chart that you proposed. There were a couple of changes on there, and then one thing that I would love to see, and I'll have those questions when we come to the next time, because I don't want to take up any more time so we can go eat, no. But I would love to see, as I've seen in other, where it's the citizens, then mayor, council, versus not having them, you know, just in that organizational chart. And I'll address some other things that I had. And then, and forgive me if I repeat some things, because I know we've addressed some of these things. And I talked about the transmittal letter. I really would like to, if in the future, maybe just hit on those key points so that the citizens know what your goals and what has been addressed in that. And then a plan of action on how we intend to decrease the deficit for our solid waste fund. I know that's going to be in our next budget. Capital improvement funds or plan of action for our equipment that is needed at the landfill and our solid waste department, our parks department, and any other department. Plan for funding land acquisition and for the landfill for the new cell and the post-closure, just kind of what those plans are. And then for our weight station, parks, solid waste, streets department, and others, their employees, where they office out of, just I would like to see what plans we have, especially also some of the equipment to do their job. Some of that, I know they were having trouble with some of the computers, and I think we were working on that, but I just want to see if we address that here. And then the library, I know some of the citizens through the town halls had asked if we could incorporate some kind of interactive programs in the future. Of course, we talked about the sign for the library and possibly landscaping. Recycling center, I know there's been conversations, and Mr. Esparza and Mr. Guerra have been very active, and Mr. Jose in reference to that. And then also just, if we're going to address the repairs, the office space, those type of things. I would like to see something for the 4th of July event for the following year. That was something that some of the citizens did voice, that they would like to see if it's possible to incorporate that in the future. I don't know if we can collaborate with another entity or something to help fund that, or but that's something that they had voiced. I would like to see if we can have the landscaping for Health Park completed, and then our outlots. I know we've discussed that in the past, and there's some plans, but I'd like to see where that's at in our budget. Citizens also asked if we could have plans for a dog park in the future. They talked about restrooms for downtown, possibly, and book boxes located in throughout our parks or something where you take one, keep one. We had talked about a video for marketing our city. I think that's so important, especially with all the improvements and what we've invested into our city. If we could have some kind of video or something, and we've talked about that before. We talked a little bit about our emergency management. You already answered some of those in reference to the sirens and some of the supplies and how that's planned out. And just, let's see, what else? And then on our levee repairs, I just want to make sure that we're proactive on that if we have something incorporated in there. And I know you do ongoing maintenance and you're keeping up and you're doing really great with that. Thank you so much. Okay, and I don't know if there's any kind of plans in the future for collaboration with our EDC and with economic growth. So that's it, sorry. Thank you.
I have one comment too.
Sure.
This one's a little bit more potentially controversial, but right now we receive $6.25 our cents on sales tax, and we've essentially given away 0.25 to the county. What does it take to get that back? Because that'll eat up a lot of our deficit. I mean, and here's the thing is we're not punching at anybody, we're not saying anything bad, you know, but the thing is we're at a point where we're looking at these quarter of a cent, and we need it. We need it more than, than they do. And, you know, we've also hit snags where some stuff has been unfunded by a participating party, and they're still taking that percentage that should be rightfully the city's. So I think that we need to actually look into this and come into communication with the county and talk about what we need to do together. If not, I think that we really need to start looking more into how do we reclaim our 0.25 of a cent. I mean, that's $211,000 on next year's budget. That's 66 point something percent of what we're trying to come up with.
Yeah, we can.
And I know it won't happen, boom, but if we can get a process going that better serves the community moving forward, I think we need to get there. We really do. So that's just a thought that we really need to kind of, you know, chew on and see if it's worth it. See if it I mean, I think that it makes a huge difference. I know that Councilwoman Sandra and I Ms. Bowen and I have talked about that in the past, and I know Mike and I have mentioned it in a conversation once before, and I think it's something that we seriously need to look at. I mean, we're not doing great. We're obviously hurting, and everything keeps going in the wrong direction. And I think that we're there. We're at a point where we need to start making the hard calls. So, just future conversation.
Anything else right now?
Adjourn.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay. Now, first and a second, all in favor? Mr. Molina. All right, thank you.